Awesome. So, Eric, I know that I wanted to jump on here and talk to you a lot in this webinar about performance because at Simply Be, when we're getting these calls, people are asking about questions that aren't necessarily mental health. People are asking about how they can cope with stress at work or how they can cope with difficult situations or high performance situations, maybe during a board meeting. And sometimes we get confused or we don't understand that mental health isn't always about being depressed or anxious. Sometimes it could be about kind of common experiences at work that you want to master or overcome. So I thought it'd be great to jump on here. I'm the owner of Simply Be Counseling, and I have been in performance coaching for a couple of years now, and have been a Division 1 athlete, and have always been a high achiever, high performer. So it makes a lot of sense for me to be here, and I'd love, for everyone to kind of get to know you before we jump into the questions.
Absolutely. So my name is Eric. I'm a therapist at Simply Be. I work and specialize with all mental health, but specifically more in the performance realm, whether that's with athletes, people at their jobs, or just anyone that's kind of looking to or feels like that they're kind of not performing up to their standards and looking to kind of make an improvement.
So people are kind of seeing you and they're talking about kind of specific situations that they might be struggling with.
Yes, correct. Yeah, whether that has to do with kind of anxiety or fear of something, or just general unhappiness, kind of in their field. My goal and our goal together is to kind of help alleviate those feelings and kind of just be able to feel like yourself and perform at your best.
Awesome. What we did today was we compiled 3 common questions that we get on calls and in our clients' kind of concerns. So we wanted to share those questions here, go through the answers, provide those information and that answers, and hopefully it really kind of helps someone out there who may be struggling at work and wanting to perform better, but there's some things just kind of getting in their way. So the first question that we have heard quite a bit is, why can't I be myself at work? And what is going on when people can't be themselves at work?
Yeah, so oftentimes, right, there's a person that you are kind of at home, right, where you're nice and relaxed, you're creative, you're free, it's a lot easier, and then all of a sudden you get to work and you feel like you become somebody different, or you have to be somebody different. A lot of times I hear people refer to saying, I'm just so shy at work, or I'm just so quiet, or I just can't be myself. So the reason why this is happening, right, is it's a lot. It's really rooted in terms of, it's a fear of, I don't want to look or sound incompetent in front of my boss or coworkers, or maybe a fear of embarrassing yourself, or a fear of letting people down or letting even yourself down, right? So a lot of times we don't take chances, kind of stick to yourself. You try to maintain this perfection standard, right? Kind of like to live up to this pedestal that maybe that you think you should be at work, and oftentimes that stress of trying to live up to this reputation that you've created causes you to not feel like yourself, not act relaxed, and kind of just be vulnerable to having that failure. So a lot of times, of course, with close coworkers or some friends, it's you feel a little bit more relaxed. But if a boss, a certain client, or anyone in perceived importance comes around, maybe they feel as though they kind of lose their confidence, and maybe feel a little bit fearful in that situation. So they maybe stay quiet to themselves, or avoid the situation as a whole.
So if someone's feeling like they can't be themselves, then they don't know how to act because they can't go back to the default of who they actually are because they're thinking about who they should be or who their boss wants them to be. So I could imagine that would make a lot of people feel uncomfortable and very uneasy with themselves. And I know that the athletes that I've worked with, when they're trying to perform for their coach and act like someone who they're not, there's more errors and there's more mistakes because they're not confident. And when you're not confident, it really just means you don't know how to act. You don't have that sort of safety net of who you defaulting to who you are at home or who you are with people who you're comfortable with. So things come off more tight, whether it's like more tight and you're uncomfortable speaking or tight and like you're physical and you're making errors on the court. But I think for professionals, even looking tight can be part of the thing that makes them uncomfortable. They can feel the tightness in their body. And so we can really help with that self regulation and that physical relaxation so that they can really kind of relax and quiet down a little bit. Do you want to, is there anything you want to add about how you do try to help someone relax and go back to being comfortable with who they are in front of people who are
Yeah,
in a position of power?
yeah, absolutely. A lot of times when, like you're saying, you can't be yourself, so you feel tight. And I think we can agree that whether this is in the workspace, the classroom, or the sport performance field, if you're acting tight, and we can't just allow our own talents and abilities to show. That gets extremely stressful, right? And that can't be sustained. So if you can't feel like you're yourself at work or in the classroom or in the sports place, it just becomes overbearing, stressful, and frustrating, right? So a couple things I like to do is the first thing is called, it's pretty fun skill. It's called anchoring. And what anchoring is, it's kind of like a classical conditioning response. And you take an anchor or something like a cue, could be a song, could be a certain smell, or could be some physical cue, such as, let's just say, a stress ball for today. And if you could think of a song, I think everybody has a song from their past that might remind them of somebody, right? Where that song might elicit, depending on your relationship with that person, that song might elicit positive emotions, positive response and feelings, or it could also be a negative response and negative emotions and feelings. So we can utilize that same technique, but in a more positive manner. So if you do something well at work, or you're proud of yourself, or something goes well, follow that by using a cue, right? Squeezing the ball, listening to a song you like. And then when you perceive a difficult situation at work coming, whether that's a big meeting, meeting with your boss, a public speaking, presentation, any sort of that, perceive that situation by using your anchor, right? And science has shown that that's going to tie together those positive and confident emotions, and that's going to give you just a little bit more confidence going into that situation, which can certainly go a long way.
Got it. So
Yeah.
are you saying that you use the anchor during a positive experience and then you use that anchor again in the future to elicit more positive feelings before you go into a difficult situation?
That's correct.
I like that idea because then you're creating, like you said, that classical conditioning, which is an association between a feeling and an action. And then in the future, you can create the action to inversely get that feeling back.
Yes.
So that's a really great technique. And I'm sure you do that a lot with professionals. And there's probably more discrete techniques depending on what that person's doing.
Yeah,
Like if
very
they
pertinent.
if they are a doctor and they're sitting in the office with a patient and they've been anxious for, maybe they're new in this field or new in a rotation, I'm sure that one thing that would work for a physician is not going to work for someone else who might be in an entry level position, but just anxious getting into the work field and they're in a cubicle. So it's probably just pretty different for each person.
Each person, absolutely, right? Kind of make it unique to each person. I think that uniqueness makes it stronger as well.
And I like the collaboration with clients when we create these fun things because it is so different for everybody. And it's funny or a little uncomfortable at first to be thinking about these silly things that we could do. But really, if we look at professional athletes or professional successful CEOs, they have all sorts of quirks and tendencies to kind of stay in the same mindset and stay positive. So none of this comes natural. And I think, unfortunately, people think that either you have it or you don't. But confidence isn't something that you're born with. Confidence is something that is manifested over time that's usually comes after failures but then repairs. So someone comes to us and they've not been doing well but they repair it and they go back to the workforce. That's actually where confidence comes from. Do you find that people are noticing that they have beliefs that they should be confident, they should know how to do better, like these should statements that really just make them feel worse?
Yeah, should is definitely a dangerous word in terms of confidence, right? Because a lot of people, they create these expectations for themselves, or these expectations are placed on them by somebody else. And when they don't meet them, there's kind of confusion in there. It's like, I should have been able to do this. I should have completed this. I should be good enough. But the should can definitely, trip you up, right? And if when you don't complete or produce the results you want that you should have achieved, that's where loss of confidence happens really quickly.
Absolutely.